if you are a awakened soul, if you have done any kind of spiritual work and you are grounded and connected to the source, you understand in this 3D prism planet what we are facing is good versus evil. So it is a real thing, just like the dark and light, the black and white, and uh, good and bad. These are all dualistic conditions in our planet Earth. But if you are navigating life towards the spiritual development, um, the perfect example I can come up with, a tree of life. You know, there are roots in the ground, deep into the ground, but there are branches who continue to grow towards the sun, the light. This is where it gets the energy, while the roots are fueling something, using all the dirts and the soil, corpse and feces and all sorts of things, and it feeds the roots of these trees because it's a recycling ecosystem. But the branches high up in the air is continue to go towards the light, the sun. It seems like this is where it gets the energy, but it never forget the roots. It's always there, but the contrast, the length between the roots and the higher branches is very different, and but they are not going to come to in touch with each other, but they exist, and this is the normal tree of life. Just like our spiritual growth in our human condition, we have the good versus evil is a real thing. So very early on, it's very clear that who are working towards the light, who are agents of the God, and the ones who are reluctant to do some work, they are just continue to perpetuate into something more, much more dense, darker parts of our life. So it is unfortunately fact of life. So we have to come to terms with the dualistic part of our existence. When you're working, when you realize the darkness is a real thing, when navigating life, you have to understand the structure of our human species in this planet Earth. It's like the corporations got CEOs and directors and all the bosses. We have to understand the structure of our human condition. In the smallest family unit, we understand the toxicity, level of toxicity, the gaslighting, the manipulation, micromanagement, extreme surveillance. These are some things that we come into face with the family unit, and we have these systems put in place, but it is the vibrational existence in our planet Earth. So then it get expanded into our communities, our countries. Now it has to be global thing, because the parasitic lining can never be satisfied with something local and just stew on something local, because they are continue to crave for something new. So then they have to consume the communities and your territories and your countries, and then it's become a global factor because of the level of toxicity and the negativity that is consume our human condition. this is where we're heading. So personally, if I had to follow some authority, I had to make sure they are doing so much better than me. So then I can let go of the cautiousness and safety concerns, and then I can rely on these authorities to have my best interests at heart. But if we have a toxic systems, we have examples where we are experiencing extreme level of toxicity, then it becomes suspicious. It's not a very wise thing for you to follow these leads, because it's going to lead you into nowhere. The healing is going to become extremely impossible with the physical illnesses, mental illnesses, and complete destruction. This is the inevitable factors, because we have followed something that maybe we shouldn't. In a small level in your family environment, just because they are your family doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart, especially if you're one of these black sheeps. It doesn't mean that they are not good people, they are not getting along with everybody. It's just the frequencies are different, and they are not tuning in with your way of life. This is the exact reason that you need to have a reliable source of information, that you can follow the lead. Who better to be your leader than the Creator, your higher self, the Creator God, the Source God? This is the leadership that we want to follow, because we are created by these unknown, holistic, divine frequency. We have to go with these gut feelings. We have to go with the information that is correct, that is presented to you by the natural ecosystem. So you know, if that teacher hates your guts, they put up with you and gives you extremely hard time, perhaps you're paying off your karmic debt, but you know that they are not to be trusted. We have no reason to. If you are empathic soul, you have a little bit more awareness into the external factors than they have for themselves. So this is something to keep in mind, because we're working with the 3D prism planet. We're here to perfect ourselves and elevate the conditions, harsh conditions that is manifested for us, and liberate ourselves. Another factor, when you observe things in your community, when you see these people are extremely struggling, but in a spiritual level, we have to understand this is happening because the environment that we're living in is extremely toxic. So there are consequences. Some souls who are disconnected and not getting in line with the energetic flow of things end up in this manner. We see walk outside in a perfectly beautiful magical day, you see somebody really high and distracted with intoxication or substance abuse or something, and they're human beings, they're young person, they're young girls, they're young boys, and that is something that, instead of being judgmental and blaming these people, we had to realize this is a toxic environment for the complicated needs of spiritual beings are not met, because the environment is so toxic. We need to understand the bigger picture, because the good versus evil is the real thing. This is why we have a negativity and positivity. Even in the battery, you see, you have these things, but in order for you to have a light, we need to have these experiences and liberate ourselves so that we can create something meaningful like a light. So this is the complicated stuff that we need to understand and liberate ourselves from. So the joy, happiness, and is a really hard to come by. You cannot maintain level of happiness that is appropriate for the human consciousness, because of the environment is extremely toxic. Toxic environment, for example, is you have to falsehood of natural ecosystem cannot maintain. So the waters have the currents that cleared up everything that is no longer necessary. It's a nuisanceable existence, and the ground, you have the rains and the thunderstorms and the heavy wind that's clear out things, and the fires and such. But we have information overload in our programming. How do we navigate, and how do we liberate ourselves from all the nuisance and all the information overload? But there is never a wisdom to maintain our level of human consciousness. So then you have to, the symptoms of these disconnection is always manifesting in a various level, but we have to be conscious enough, we have to be active enough to liberate ourselves from these conditions. Another example, the cleanup in the Hollywood. These are very creative, very beautiful, talented people, but they have gone along with the system that is not healthy. It's scarcity, it's greed, it doesn't value your creativity. So then you go along with these things, but you have if you had the courage, if you followed your heart, you will probably not go along with these factors. But something that is not balanced within you, like the greed and desires and competitiveness, you fall into these kind of loopholes because you didn't protect your best interest at heart. So then eventually it's going to come to a point where you need have extreme cleanup, because this is what is wrong with our society. Toxicity, the parasitic lining have gained access to your spiritual being and have absolute control over your existence, and this is not a healthy situation for any kind of social structure. So this is why we have to get engaged with these cleanup system, because if we don't have the courage to do it, because nobody likes to disrupt any things, but the falsehood of the programming cannot maintain in the long run, because the toxicity level is so high, then it's going to destroy your existence as a whole, as a human species. So we cannot have these darkness consume us completely. So this is why we have to speak up and trying to shake things up. Nobody likes to do it. It's not nice thing to do it, because but everybody kept quiet and nobody ever say anything. It's the structure, the shake-up is not going to happen. The currents is not there. The wind and the rainstorms are not there. Then we are going to end up destroying the human species altogether. So we cannot let that happen, because the darkness never know when to stop. It has to consume and keep on consuming until there's nothing more left. So the if you're a spiritual light worker, if you're going to just go with the flow because you don't want to upset anything, you're going to you're going to put a stop to it and shine a light. These are, we know this. This is the this is something that we need to address. We need to clean up. We're not only saving ourselves, we're actually helping the darkness towards some sort of healing. You can be in hell for the eternity, but because of our lack of responsibility, they are also not have a hope, because no one ever gave them an opportunity to correct themselves. So it is important for our elevation, but it is also important for the darkness to be addressed, and maybe because the growth has to happen. The growth is always towards the light. Growth is always healthy, but the growth has to happen gradually. But if we continue to ignore all the dysfunction and the problems because we don't want to upset the normal circumstances, it is a loss for not only the light forces, it's also loss for the darkness. So we are correcting these darknesses, so then they can have a hope. One day they can be liberated from their darkness and start going towards this light.